Thank you for that effort. Um, Hello, everyone. My name is Nevin Kapler. I come from Rubin Observatory and University of Washington. And today I'll be talking about link frameworks and how we are trying to enable scalable analysis. So let's start a little bit what this is. Link frameworks is a collaboration between several institutions, most notably University of Washington, Carnegie Mellon University, University of Pittsburgh, and our host here, NeuroLab. And our goal is to enable science software infrastructure. And the main goal is that Rubin Observatory will create a lot of data. A lot of effort has been done in creating the catalogs, data management, and doing the processing enabled to create scientific level data. But the question is, then when you have all of this data, can we enable scientists to use this better? And we are a team of roughly 5, 6 research scientists and around 10, 11 software engineers who generally come from industry without astronomy background. And then we try to basically lead them in this effort. And we have several ways that we are trying to help community. And I will start with one of them and maybe the most applicable and interesting for you. We do these incubators where we provide support for researchers to work directly with our software engineers and achieve your research goals. This is basically a 3-month intensive session where we try to speed up your code. And the next deadline is June 17th. And basically, there is some amount of money and access to the research staff, to our software engineer staff. And it's 1-page proposal, which I highly encourage you to do, even if you don't think that you completely fit, because we try to do it that the initial proposal is very light. And then we have 2 stages. We invite many people on one-on-one conversations to see what your requirements are, where we could help. And even if you don't get selected in this round, we know for the future and what are the future things that maybe we could help. I will highlight one of these relatively successful incubators that we did already, and it was already mentioned. So when they were doing data preview 0.3, which included all these solar system objects, this was led by Meg Schwab from Queen's University in Belfast. Basically, they did this simulation and they did it the way how I would do it when I would be writing software. It was slow. It took 3 weeks to generate that simulation, and they did it once. Once is good enough. But if you want to, let's say that you want to analyze, that you want to do some simulations, that you want to change the parameters, this is obviously not feasible. And they applied for these incubators, and these are the results. And you can see from the verbiage that this is not something that I would write. These are what my colleagues wrote. But basically, for instance, what we did, there is continuous integration testing. We made it that you can plug in their light curve and user packages, which enable to change the parameters. It eliminated this I/O bottleneck where basically in the previous version, they were writing many files and then loading from files. They did it more efficiently. And if you don't, the only thing to remember is basically we managed to speed the code from 3 weeks to 5 hours, which is around 100-fold speed up, which enables you to completely change the way that you interact with this piece of code. What made this a good incubator? The code was already there. It only needed to be sped up. So the good incubators are the ones where you already have a code, you already have a science. We can't do science better than you. What we can do, we can help you speed up the code. We have 4 main areas in which we work. And if you can kind of connect in one of those, that is even better. One is called Rail. It does photometric redshift estimations. Another is KB mode, and it's very similar to what we were just discussing now, finding solar system objects. And the other ones are LSDB and TAPE, which are cross-matching and analytics and time domain efforts, which I'll present here. LSDB is the framework that we are developing in order to do scalable cross-matching and analysis. What we do is we take a survey. In future, it will probably be Rubin, but we do it on many surveys. And you want to split the data in some fashion. what people usually, most often you will do, you split it on the same area in the sky. Problem is that Galaxy has a lot more objects than outside of Galaxy. So different parts of the sky, if you take always the same part of the sky, have a lot more data. So what we do, we basically, where the number density of objects is higher, we make smaller pixels. And that means that each of these pixels fits in a memory of a single core. And we store it in these Parquet files in this structure that is shown here. Why is that good? Sorry. For instance, imagine that you want to cross-match two surveys, LSST and Euclid, LSST, Roman, ZTF, and Roman. You have two catalogs which are split in this fashion. If you want to cross-match, you can send each one of these pixels to one core, and each core then has same amount of computation. So basically, if you have infinite amount of cores, you can basically get it on the same speed as there is no lagging. There is no one core which has to do much more work than the others. What we are doing now, we are heavily collaborating with NASA to provide data sets in this spatially sharded format, and we are currently implementing that on Fornex, which is science platform, and so much more. And I hope to show that to you tomorrow. And then we are testing with various data sets, some of them which I wrote here. And with this various data set, each one is different. We are finding bugs and problems, and we are, I think at the moment, quite successful at enabling science. And another coworker is, as I speak at IVO meetings, so International Virtual Observatory meeting, proposing this format as a standard. I want to just touch a little bit about time domain. So when you want to do time domain, there are some special considerations that you have to make. What we are currently developing is a package which is called TAPE. It's built on top of the Dask, which is similar. LSDB is also built on top of the Dask. Basically, what this enables you is to provide parallelized data frame so that the user doesn't have to parallelize on its own, and you can load these catalogs which are larger than memory and operate on them without sharding data on their own. So you can take this data that you got from the previous package and operate in time domain. I wanted to highlight, we will soon be probably moving to something like this, which is nested pandas or Dask. So what is the problem? LSST and many other surveys provide the data in like objects and source catalogs, where source is basically detection. So you have one catalog, which is objects, and the other, which has detections. And often you have to operate with two of them at once, which tends to be very computationally expensive and difficult to work with. So this is an attempt to circumvent that, where we basically detections go together with objects, which is, for instance, if you know ZTF serves data as well, we try to have it native Python support for that, so you can operate on large amounts of data successfully. I want to just showcase two examples of the projects which were enabled by our packages. Yesterday, you heard from Andy Tzazikis, who was showing how he took ZTF, he cross-matched it with a custom catalog from Gaia. He used that in LSDB. Then he went into TAPE to run his functions over these large amounts of data, larger than memory data sets, and got some very nice dippers. Another one that I want to showcase, which might be interesting for this crowd, is not just dipping stars, but stars with dips. So this is a project led by Tansu Dylan, who is a professor at Washington University, where basically he has a code which works on tests to find dips in the data. And then, of course, when you get to LSST, he has this code. He just wants to make it 1,000 times bigger, 10,000 times bigger. And we are at the moment working with the ZTF to show that we can scale up the data. We don't expect results from ZTF imminently because the precision of the survey is not very high, but as an interesting example of what we are trying to achieve. Almost the last thing, I want to also invite you, we do these tech talks where we invite and showcase the software efforts which in the broad Rubin community. So we did all sorts of talks where like in-kind contributors, data centers, our engineers, Roman software group, data management. But I wanted to highlight in particular the next talk, June 13th, will be basically about this project. So if you have friends, if you want to learn more, this is where to go. And lastly, and maybe most important. So tomorrow, Andy mentioned it already yesterday, we will have a demo here at 4 p.m. at the start of the time domain multi-messenger breakout session. If you want to run the demo as the same time as us, there are two options. One is your local machine, not recommended, and you're on our cloud, much more recommended. Problem is, if you run it on your local machine, you have to download data from the internet. That is not going to work. It takes more time to download the data than actually running. If you run on cloud, Microsoft downloads the data and you can run the code. So I highly recommend that. Having said that, and there will be a link also on the summary slide, you need to follow getting started instructions because you fill a form, I get an email, I invite you on GitHub. You then need to join this GitHub group and you'll get invite on your email associated with your GitHub account. And some of you already did that. I sent you the invite, but maybe you didn't see. You have to also press. And if you could do that by the end of the day today so that we don't have to do this, 20 minutes before the demo tomorrow, that would be excellent. Okay. And also questions in the Slack, or if you want, if you have Ruby Slack, we have a channel there as well, which I highly recommend if you can join. Link LSDB. Okay, and I will leave you with a summary and once again to the link, which I highly recommend that you use if you wish to attend the demo tomorrow. Thank you.